Hi, Aries Sun and Rising. Welcome to your November 2024 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So, November is a jam-packed month. I'm just going to get right into it. I know Aries people like you to get right down to brass tacks. So, on the very first day of the month, we have a new moon at 9 degrees of Scorpio. Scorpio is your eighth house. This is a house of transformation in astrology, and this has been an area that has been triggered by eclipses for you recently in recent years. Not the past year, but the couple of years before that. And now your sun sign, or if you're listening for ascendant, is being triggered by eclipses as well. So you have had a lot of change in the past few years. And this area is also, in addition to being about transformation, it's the area of other people's finances, resources. So if you are coupled, this could be your partner's finances, could be like an inheritance. And it's also metaphysical studies, including astrology and the tarot. Something new could be being initiated around this time. Actually, it's interesting because this is November 1st is Day of the Dead, the day after Halloween. And, Scorpio, this is just during Scorpio season, so you can see how it is connected like that. And the second, Mercury goes into Sagittarius, so fellow fire sign, and this is Mercury going into your ninth house, and so that means that Mercury has been in your eighth house. So that makes me think that you have been doing some kind of research or discussions, paperwork involving shared resources for some reason. Or possibly, or if you're, going to study something that is metaphysical, maybe you're communicating with the teachers, or reading the curriculum, or signing the papers to join, something along those lines. And when Mercury goes into that ninth house, this is the higher mind. And that can actually also be academia. So it can be something that is connected to like a university course of studies. Like, I'll just give you an example of the difference between studying in the eighth house and studying in the ninth house. The eighth house can be, like shamanism or something like that. The ninth house can be becoming a Christian chaplain, or I would even include becoming a yoga teacher, because that's not what I would consider the occult. The eighth house is more open-ended in that sense, and I think the ninth house is more kind of the established religions and schools of thought. So the other thing that the ninth house can be about is long-distance travel. Mercury can be your documents, your passport, or whatever. So there might be something with that has to be taken care of. Keep in mind, Mercury's going retrograde in Sagittarius this month. So, be very careful if you are planning to travel. And this is Thanksgiving time in the United States, and it kicks off the holiday season. We're actually having Thanksgiving very late this year on the 28th. So, and it will be under a Mercury retrograde Thanksgiving. So it is going to be definitely very much into holiday season by the 28th of November. So there might be a lot of you that are making travel plans, and you just want to be like extra careful. That's all. Alrighty, on the 3rd, Mars goes into Leo. So Mars goes into your 5th house. Keep keep aware of this, because this is going to be a story that plays out for the next, maybe 6 months, 5 months, 6 months, because you're going to have Mars retrograde in Leo in early December, and then it's going back into Cancer. So it's going to go back into your 4th house, and it's going to, go between your 4th and your 5th houses between now and whenever that is, May, June, something like that, April, May, or June. So please keep that in mind, because this means that it's hanging out in these areas quite a bit. What do the 4th and 5th houses have in common? Well, both of them are connected to children. The 4th house can be connected to your children. The 5th house can be connected to children in general and conceiving children. So, that's very important. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have gotten married for a second time, and your current spouse wants to start a family with you, but you already have children. And maybe you thought it was a good idea, and now you're having second thoughts. And so you're kind of thinking, do I really want to go through this? I guess I'm thinking about the woman rather than the man, because the woman has to carry the child. Do I really want to do this again? I've already been there and done that. I know I said that I wanted more kids before I got married, but now I'm not so sure. And there might be a lot of things you have to consider. So, or, including how your children feel about it. So in any case, or even some kind of like an affair, 5th house can be a fling, especially if Mars is there. And that you could be thinking like, I don't know if I want to threaten my family. I don't know if I want to threaten the results of what's going on with my family. I don't want my family to break up, in other words. So anyway, I'm just going to talk about Mars going into that 5th house right now. Mars is very physical, and the 5th house can be any kind of hobbies that you have, and or just pastimes, things that you do for fun. So that might involve, like sports. And Mars can even be competitive, so you might be involved in some kind of competition. This can be if you're like an artist, because this is the house of love and creativity. Mars can be very ardent, very full of romantic influences, but also Mars is lusty. Mars is the libido. So the 5th house can be recreational sex. Isn't that weird that it's like conceiving children, recreational sex? That doesn't sound right to me. But so you may be on the prowl. And I was going to say some women, they might be cougars on the prowl. But so the other thing that Mars can be about is really having a lot of energy to accomplish something. So like, for instance, the 5th house can be the business that you own, and maybe you just are doing something on the side, and you just really pour your energy into it because you want to make it your primary gig at one point, at a future point. So you're just really pouring energy into it. So any of those things is possible. And because it's a fellow fire sign, it's harmonious with your sun or ascendant. So that's nice. On the 11th, 11-11 portal, we have Venus going into Capricorn, and this is your 10th house of career. This is a great time for you career-wise, Aries, because you can come across in the most pleasant of ways. And Aries people, not that you don't come across in a good way, but sometimes you can be a little bit rougher on the edges because you're just, blunt force. You go through life with a very straightforward approach. I was just talking about Mars and I forgot to say, Mars is your ruler. So it's kind of like if you see the symbol for Mars, it's like that arrow. It's like going to the target. It's not like dilly-dallying. Aries people get right down to business. And sometimes there's not enough of that kind of, sheen. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I think about your opposite sign, Libra, and how there's like this glossy exterior that people can like very easily. But with you, it's just like, what you see is what you get. And I, as a Sagittarian, I like that approach because I think it's very honest and very, very real, without artifice. And some people, they kind of recoil at that. So if you kind of present yourself in a very blunt way, this gives you a little bit of what we would call window dressing, or just, you could even just say, coming across very pleasing, in a pleasing manner. And also the 10th house are authority figures, and they may take kindly to you. They may want to help you. Also, Venus can be money, so this could be a raise. This is your career sector, so a raise. Yeah, so that's nice. On the 15th, we have a full moon at 24 degrees of Taurus. This is an important date because two important transits are happening on the 15th. Full moon, 24 degrees of Taurus. That's in your second house of earned income. And Saturn goes direct at 12 degrees of Pisces in your 12th house. Let's start with the Saturn transit. In the 12th house, in the house that Pisces rules, this is quite a doozy for Saturn because Saturn is the lord of karma, and the 12th house is the house of karma, and it's also the house of Pisces. So you really have the full Monty of what Saturn and Pisces is all about. Now, they say like Saturn in the 12th house is like the dark night of the soul. Because what it does is it makes a person have to face the music in terms of everything that they have been running away from. The 12th house can be escapism. This is one of the reasons why Neptune is connected to, or I could say Neptune Pisces is connected to addiction, to drugs, and photography, or you could even say entertainment, anything that takes our mind off of our problems. And all of these can be forms of escapism. And mind you, I don't personally think that it's completely wrong to, escape when it comes to dealing with, unpleasant emotions, because sometimes that can be a better thing than to wallow in your problems. That to make yourself feel better in some way. When it becomes a problem is when it becomes habitual, when somebody is like, that's their default method of dealing with anything that is stressing them out, is to just go into some kind of escapist behavior, because then it doesn't solve the problem. But anyway, that's why Saturn the 12th is so hard sometimes, because it's like everything that the person has done, and this is the house of self-undoing. So any kind of problems that a person has, like whether it's, personality problems or life problems, where they may have tried to kind of like fool themselves, they can't do that anymore. And I always believe that outer events are also participating in this, and they, can kind of, give that sort of influence as well, or it kind of like a catalyst that then forces the person to have to face this. So that can be difficult too, because it might be some kind of a catalyst of a challenging nature that forces a person to have to rely on themselves without running away from the problem. And, it's interesting because the 12th house can be hospitals and prisons. And if you think about somebody who's like a fugitive, who's running away from the law, and they finally turn themselves in, that's kind of like the vibe. It's like, okay, I'm finally going to turn myself in to the prison wardens. It's like tough, but the person realizes that they have to stop running, because that's no life for them. Okay, and on the same day, we have a full moon at 24 degrees of Taurus. This is falling in your second house of earned income. So like I was saying about the prior transit of Venus into Capricorn, into that 10th house, could possibly mean a raise. This seconds the notion, because a full moon in the second house of earned income could be that you're earning more money, or you're getting something. Maybe it's like some kind of bonus or something along those lines. So that would be really good too. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your time of life. Some people could be retiring and they're not earning money from a paycheck. Maybe they're earning it from their 401k or Social Security, whatever. So it's not that they stop bringing in money, but it's like one source of income is ending. On the 19th, Pluto goes back into Aquarius for 20 years. Pluto in the 11th house. This is the 11th house for you. So Pluto has been in your 10th house. And so isn't that interesting? We have Venus going into Capricorn on the 11th, and Pluto ending its reign in Capricorn, or its transit in Capricorn, on the 19th for good in all of our lifetimes. In that 10th house of career, which maybe you gained some things from it, you transformed yourself career-wise, but it could also have been quite challenging from a perspective of some of the things that may have occurred. Maybe you had a fall from grace of some sort. That can happen when Pluto is in the 10th house. Now that Pluto is permanently in the 11th house for the next 20 years, this is going to affect your social networks, and your standing among your social networks. You may assume a leadership role at some time. I think this also gives strength to your dreams. This is a house of dreams. And I think this can also bring wealth. Pluto can bring wealth. The 11th house is the house of gains. So the profits from your business, the money you make from your career, your job. On the 21st, the sun goes into Sagittarius, your 9th house. So it's joining Mercury there. So this is further evidence of focusing on ninth house matters. And you'll see, well, on the 25th, Mercury retrogrades at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. So that can certainly be, that you are rethinking something, maybe some travel plans. And it could be something at the last minute, like for Thanksgiving, it gets canceled. And it's like, oh, well, I just bought this ticket. Now what do I do? And kind of, trying to scramble. And I was listening to another astrologer, and you can travel during Mercury retrograde. It's just that you have to, make room for the fact that there might be delays or things you might have to, change your plans. If you're flexible, then it's fine. You can always, you might be surprised at where the universe has you go. So, anyway, that's what I have for you, Aries. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, you can click on the link below to see the type of readings I offer. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.